What is going on today, guys? My name is ManglerFan26, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 tips for video game collecting. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 10. My first tip with video game collecting, or with buying video games in general, is to inspect them. Now, what do I mean by this, you might ask? So let's say you're wherever and you find a game you want to buy. You should take a look at it. First, take a look at the case. See if the cover art is in good condition. If it has the original cover art and it's not one of those generic GameStop cases or something like that anyway. If it's got the original cover art and void of any stickers, at least ones that are non-removable, then look inside. It's got the manual, it's got the disc. Looking pretty good. And then for discs, you're also going to want to look at the condition and check for any scratches. This disc here has minimal, in fact I can't find any at all. So this would be a game that you would probably want to buy, as it should work very good. But then let's look at Mario Kart Double Dash over here. As you can see, it's got a sticker, this generic GameStop case, which is in very bad condition. Then we open it up, no manual, the disc isn't even in place. And it's hard to see, but this particular disc is scratched beyond belief, and it doesn't even work, so you probably would not want to buy a game that looks like this. Number 9. Coming into my number 9 tip is to find a local video game store near you. Now when I say this, I kind of say it with sort of an asterisk. For most people, their local video game store is GameStop. Now yes, GameStop works for like PS3, Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One, all the modern consoles. But if you want to buy stuff for consoles such as the NES, Super NES, or something like that, you're fresh out of luck at GameStop, at least in their stores. You're going to want to find a retro video game store, as they're most commonly called. There's one that just opened near me at a farmer's market, and I have gotten some stuff there, and they do have some pretty good deals sometimes. It's just one way that you can definitely almost always find the retro game you're looking for if you don't want the time and hassle of shopping on eBay for it. Number 8. For this next tip, it's mainly for people who collect and play on older consoles, but it is to have a CRT television in your game room to play these older consoles on. Now, why might you need a CRT in your game room when a lot of older consoles have aftermarket hookups that you can use to hook them up to HD TVs? Well, I say this for a number of reasons. One is, personally for me, when I played on older consoles such as the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo Wii, I mainly played them on a CRT very similar to the one you see here right now, this one being an Emerson. Overall, I feel like some of these older consoles, like the PS2 and Wii, as I said before, they kind of look sort of washed out on a modern television, and they just kind of look better or more original, I'll say, on a CRT. Now, another thing you'll need a CRT TV for, at least right now, is to play light gun games. Many consoles, especially older ones, have light gun accessories, like most famously the NES Zapper for playing Duck Hunt. For some reason, modern HD televisions that don't have the actual cathode ray tube won't support light gun games. Why? I don't know, but if you're into light gun games, get a CRT. And one last minor tidbit, for Rob the Robot to work properly, he'll also need a CRT, so if you have a Rob and you want to see him work, get a CRT. Number 7. This next tip is to check your local thrift stores. Thrift stores such as Goodwill will often get games in and sell them for incredibly cheap prices. Even your local thrift stores, like your mom and pop businesses, they get games in too sometimes, and they will also usually have good deals on them. If you don't want to pay eBay levels of prices, I would highly recommend checking out your local thrift store to see what they have. Some of my Goodwill finds include these two games here, Age of Empires 3 and Diablo 3, both for PC. Number 6. Coming in at number 6 on the list is to check your local garage sales and flea markets. First, I'll explain finding stuff at flea markets. I think the idea of finding used games for very cheap prices at a flea market was popularized by Pat the NES Punk in his series Flea Market Madness. He used to go to a flea market in Englishtown, New Jersey, and then one in California, I forget where exactly, but he always found good deals on used games and often got to know plenty of the sellers, which is something I would also recommend. I go to a flea market at a college near me 3 or 4 times a year, and a frequent seller there got to know me to the point where he gives us discounts on some of his items. It's pretty good. You can also typically get negotiations down on items if you buy stuff from one seller in bulk. Now, finding flea markets can be a bit tricky. You'll typically see them advertised online or in your local newspaper, so I would highly recommend checking that out. Now, if you're trying to find garage sales or yard sales near you, I would highly recommend checking out GarageSaleFinder.com. What this website does is you enter your zip code, and then it will use its database to find a whole bunch of yard sales happening near you the coming weekend or sometime after. It's absolutely free, and it's helped me a lot finding yard sales near me that I previously was unable to find by local advertising. I would highly recommend checking it out. Number 5. My 5th tip on this list is to look online. One good place you can start is Craigslist. It's a site famous for having all kinds of good deals on video gaming stuff, no matter where you are. All you have to do is look up something, and you're almost guaranteed to find some kind of good deal related to the item that you're looking for. I would highly recommend checking it out. However, there's another place you can go that I feel like not many talk about when you're trying to find games, and that is the Facebook Marketplace. Just like Craigslist, there's a whole bunch of great deals on here no matter where you are, and also just like Craigslist, you can often find bulk lots if that's what you're into, and that's how you like to buy your games. Also recommend checking it out. And if you can't find what you're looking for on Facebook or Craigslist, there's always eBay. It's pretty much guaranteed to have exactly what you're looking for, but sometimes you might have to pay a bit higher of a price for it. Number 4. Coming in at number 4 on my list is to find a ballpark value of what you're looking for. Now, what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. When I was looking for my golden Nintendo 64, I checked the eBay prices of getting a console with 2 golden controllers. That bundle typically went for around $250 to $275. So I figured if I paid any more than $275, I would probably be paying above average. So I looked around and see if any game stores had one, which all but one didn't. The one that did had it for $235, which was lower than any eBay price I've seen for the bundle I was getting. So I jumped on it. It was a way for me to make sure I was paying below average for what I was looking for. If you want to know how to find a general ballpark value of what you're looking for, I would highly recommend checking either eBay or some kind of price charts if it's a game. Number 3. This next tip is a rather quick one, but I still think it's important. If you have a rather large collection, chances are there's going to be at least a few consoles that you don't have hooked up at any given moment. And you don't want to display all the wires and controllers that you're not using, but maybe just the consoles themselves. So this tip is to find a spot for those unused wires and controllers. As you can see here, my CRT setup is sitting on top of a dresser. So what do? I've got one drawer for wires, which by the way I store in Ziploc bags. I think it's a great way to keep them organized and prevent them from tangling. And then I've got a drawer for controllers I don't use at the moment. Again, it's a quick tip, but I still think it's an important one. Number 2. Coming in at number 2, and I think this is a very important one, it is to get to know the space you have for your game room. Now, when I first started collecting and putting my stuff in this game room, I looked at the space I had. I figured I'd have space for 2 setups. One over here, and one over there. And then any kind of shelving or otherwise storage space will be used for games or consoles that I'm not using. And then I also figured out that if I don't have enough space in my game room or I run out of space, I could go right next door in the hallway and turn my bedroom into an expansion of the game room where I could store more games and consoles, plus have space for one extra setup. Now, methods of game storage or display will vary from person to person, but I would say for any game collector, if you see that space is starting to fill up in your game room, I would try to figure out how you're going to get more of it, or if you're going to slow down on collecting until you can find a way to get more space. Number 1. My number 1 tip for video game collecting is to know what you're looking for. Whether it will be something at a swap meet, a garage sale, a game store, wherever, you want to know the specific item or some kind of set of games for a certain console or some kind of theme that you want to collect for. Like if you just buy everything, you're going to end up with a lot of stuff that doesn't match up and it will start to look kind of in disarray. One thing I was looking for recently was the Japanese PS2 so I could play Seaman 2. I figured a swap meet or a flea market wouldn't have those probably ever, at least here in the US. So I skipped one and set aside the money I was going to use for that to order a Japanese PS2 and a copy of Seaman 2 on eBay instead. Overall, I feel like if you know what you want to collect, whether it's like a complete set of games for a console or a set of games in a series like Mario or whatever, I feel like you'll be a lot more satisfied with your collection once you reach that goal instead of just willy-nilly buying things expecting it to look like some massive collection like the Angry Video Game Nerd or something. But that's just me. What are your guys' thoughts? Please let me know down in the comments below. Leave future video suggestions, game room suggestions, whatever. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.